Hello students, welcome to lecture number 15 of Computer Architecture course. The topic of today's lecture is direct mapped cache memory. So far in the last lecture, we had spoken about the basic fundamentals of memory architecture. What are the different types of memory classifications that exist, starting from RAM, ROM and a flash memory. You've also been exposed to the reading and writing techniques for ROMs, as well as we have also seen about the structure, the internal circuitry of ROM architecture. Today what we are going to focus on is about the cache memory and what is its exact function, what is the inside hardware architecture of cache memory, how do we determine the address of cache memory, and we'll do some examples of that. Okay, so let us get started. Some concepts which will be covered in today's lecture and would be useful for you to know is, first is big is slow. What I mean by that is, if a structure is bigger in size, it is inherently slower in nature. Small is fast. What it means is that if a structure is smaller in size, it is supposedly faster than any bigger structure compared to that. We increase performance by having hierarchy of memory subsystems. By now that must be absolutely clear to you that if you have a hierarchy of memory subsystems, you can actually enhance the performance of your computer processor. We will also do a little bit on temporal locality and spatial locality. We will talk about cache miss, cache hit rate, miss rate, and concepts on index, offset and tag. Okay, so these all keywords are related to cache memory that we will be talking about today. Okay, so you have a CPU and you have a main memory and you have a cache structure in between. So the transfer that happens between a CPU and a cache is a word transfer, and the transfer of data that happens between a cache and a main memory is a block transfer. Okay, so that's how it works. So this difference needs to be known to you in advance, that there's a difference between the transfer types between CPU cache and cache main memory. Again, considering the multi-level cache architecture, you have a number of levels of cache memory sitting in between the CPU and the main memory, and the speed varies from the most fastest to the slowest if you move from left end of the spectrum to the right end of the spectrum, from CPU to the main memory. Now let us try to see how does a mapping process work, okay, from memory to caches. So usually cache memory is a smaller structure than the RAMs, and the number of locations in a cache is always going to be limited compared to the size of the RAM. Therefore, the smaller size is faster, as I had spoken about earlier, and larger size is slower compared to the smaller size. So RAM is definitely larger in size compared to cache, so therefore it is slower than cache. Now if you see this diagram, the main memory that I have drawn here inside the green box, that has 16 locations starting from address 0000, and then you have 0001, then 0100 and so on. Okay, so there are 16 locations, 0, 1, 2, 3 till 15 basically, and the cache architecture that we see, or the cache structure that we see, has 4 entries which has the addresses from 00, and then you have 01, 10, 11. Okay, so if you note here, the cache structure will always be having entries in the order of power of 2. Okay, that is a rule. So caches will never have any number of entries which is not a power of 2. So therefore it's 4 here, it could be 8, it could be 16, so on. So therefore the number of entries in a cache is always power of 2, and the lower order bits of the cache address is used. So lower order log2 of cache size in blocks, so that number of bits of the block address is used to map to the cache structure. Okay, so for example, if the number of entries in the cache is 8, so then log2 of 8 will be 3 bits of the address that selects the block and forms the cache index. Okay. Now for example, in this case, since the number of entries is 4, so it will be log2 of 4 and it will be 2 bits of the main memory address that selects the block and forms the cache index. So for example, the lower order 2 bits you can see has been mapped. First, in case of the location 0000, the lower order 2 bits is 00, so that is mapped here, which is just light blue structure. The next is 0100. Okay, so that is actually the lower order 2 bits are 01, so therefore 01 is mapped here into the blue bar that you see here. Then you have 0010, the lower order is again 00, 2 bits, so that is again mapped to the first location in the cache cell or cache architecture. So you see that number of locations from the memory locations are actually mapping onto the cache architecture. So the first location here, that is mapping to this one, then 0010, that is also mapping to the first entry, and again 0001 is also mapping to the first entry, and so on. And while the other ones such as 0100 and then 0101 and 0111 is all mapping to 01 address of the cache. Another way to map or find the mapping of the RAM address to the cache is by using the formula, which is x mod the number of entries, where x is the address of the main memory. So that is another way how you can get to the same answer. Okay, that is to find out the exact address of the cache where it has to be mapped. And this lower order in bits, depending on log2 of cache size in blocks, is actually known as the cache index. Okay, so this forms the cache index of the cache architecture. Okay, this is just one of the components. We will also have other components of cache. So cache index is just one part of it. Now let's see one more example. You have some decimal address of reference, for example, and these decimal address of references are, for example, addresses of RAM, which is ordered in the following sequence from 22, 26, 22, 26, 16, 3, 16, 18, and then 16. So we keep on accessing the RAM in the following order of addresses, and the binary equivalent of these references are given here. So 22's binary is 01101, 26 is 01011, and so on till 16, which is 4 zeros and then 1. Now when you want to check in the cache, in case we are requesting for this decimal address of RAM, first it will be a miss for the first entry, because this entry does not exist in the cache. This data doesn't exist in the cache. So the assigned cache block corresponding to that is the address, which is x mod the number of entries of the cache. So number of entries of the cache is 8. Okay, for example, so the value of x is 01101, which is the RAM address that I'm talking about here, this one. So this x mod 8 gives you the address of the assigned cache block, which is 011, okay, which you see is coincidentally the lower order 3 bits. The next one is 01011. So this is again a new decimal address. So again it's a miss because this entry doesn't appear in the cache initially. So the assigned cache block will be 01011 mod 8, and again it is going to be the lower order 3 bits, which is 010. Okay, then you have 22. So 22's binary is 01101, and since this entry is already there in the cache, because we already had this memory address in the first attempt or in the first position, so this is going to be a hit because this is already there. So the corresponding assigned cache block is again 011 depending on the formula. For the next one, 26, it's again going to be a hit because we have already referenced this decimal address 26 earlier, and the corresponding assigned cache block is going to be 010 depending on this formula x mod 8. The next entry is 16. So 16 gives you a miss because this is a new entry, and that actually is assigned to the cache block 000, which is a lower order 3 bits. Then you have 3. 3 is again a miss, and the assigned entry is 110. So this is again a new entry in the cache. Then you have 16. Now 16 is supposed to be a hit because 16 had already been encountered earlier. It already referenced this RAM address, so it's a hit now in the cache, and the assigned cache block will be 000. So 000 was there earlier, so now this is a cache block where the data will be updated, or you will find this data rather, because it has already been updated earlier after the miss, and now it's a hit. Then you have 18. So 18 is again a miss because 18 doesn't appear earlier, and the reference is 010. Now 010 also was referenced by decimal address 26. So 26 will now be replaced by 18. Okay, 26 will now be replaced by 18 because 18 is the recent most reference. So this is a special locality concept that we will replace the recent referenced memory address by replacing the older one. So this is going to go into the cache block 010. Then you have 16 again. So 16 is going to be a hit because we have already referenced 16 earlier, and the assigned cache block is 000. Okay, so that's how the process of accessing cache usually works, and this is of course for direct map cache. Okay, this is one class of cache architecture that we are learning. There are other classes of cache architecture that we learn in the upcoming lectures also. Okay, so you've seen that the reference of the RAM is provided on the first column. Then you've seen about the hit miss in the cache. So this comes out to have like 5 misses and 4 hits because you have in total 9 references. Okay, and the assigned cache block, depending on the decimal address that is being specified, is also shown how to obtain. Okay, now let us move more into the cache architecture. So the cache architecture usually comprises of 4 different fields. The first is the index field, the second is the valid field, the third is the tag field, and the fourth is the data field. Okay, these are the 4 fields of cache. Now depending on the references, we'll keep on modifying the cache table that you see here, or the cache structure. So for example, if you have a memory reference which is 01101, you see that reference right at the bottom here. So for that, the assigned cache block or index will be 011, right, because the lower order 3 bits. It's a cache with 8 entries, 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So it's an 8 entry cache, will have 3 bits assigned, the lower order 3 bits assigned for the cache index. So 011 will be the first index where the data has to be looked for. If it is there, fine. If it is not, then we will have to place or bring the data from the RAM to the cache. Okay, so therefore the data here comprises of the data in the memory location memory 01101, and the tag is the upper order 2 bits. Okay, since this is a 5-bit memory address, so the lower order 3 bits are for the cache index and the upper order 2 bits are for the tag. So the tag bit is therefore 01 given here, and the valid bit will all be turned off. So this is no, because this has not been accessed. Once it has been accessed, this will be turned on and it will become yes. So y. Okay, the remaining remains as n, that is not accessed basically. Okay, so this is the initial state, and this is the first state after encountering a miss for the address 01101. Then you come to the next one. The next one is again 01011. So 01011 is giving you a cache index of 010. So therefore 010 comes here, it turns on, and the tag bit is 11. So 11 comes here, and the data will have the value from the memory location 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. Then you encounter next miss, which is again this one, the miss that is resulting from 4 zeros and 1. Of course, we are not talking of the hits because hit will not have any any problems here. Hit, we will find this particular location of data available in the cache for 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, okay, because that is already there in the first entry. And for the next, it will again be a hit because you will have this data available in the location 0, 1, 0, 1, 1 with the cache of 0, 1, 0 as cache index. So I'm not talking of the one in between, I'm talking of only the misses here. So this table structure shows here only for the misses. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically 5 misses that we are talking about. So in the third miss, which is corresponding to 4 zeros and 1, so the lower order 3 bits will be 0, 0, 0. So therefore this will be the cache index, and the data from memory location 4 zeros 1 will be placed here. Tag will be 1, tag will be 0, 1, corresponding to the upper order 2 bits of the cache memory address. The next will be the miss corresponding to 1, 1, 0, 0. So 1, 1, 0, 0 will have a cache index of 1, 1, 0. So 1, 1, 0 will be this one. Again, the upper order 2 bits will be 0, 0 from this, and you will have the data from the memory location 1, 1, 0, 0, 0. And finally, you will have the last miss corresponding to memory address 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, and it will be accessed in the cache index, which is given by 0, 1, 0. So 0, 1, 0 is this one that you see here. The data will be brought in from the memory location 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, and the tag value will be 0, 1, okay, and this valid bit will be turned on, so it will be specified as yes for this particular location. So you see, that's how the process of accessing caches work. Okay. Okay, now let me move more into the concept of cache tag. So as I said that the number of bits of a cache index is equals to log 2 of the cache size in blocks, or the number of entries in the cache structure. So if the number of entries or the cache size in blocks is 8, so the number of bits of the cache index will be log 2 of 8, which is 3 bits. The cache may contain, since we know that the cache may contain data of a number of memory locations, so there should be a way to verify that whether the data present in the cache belongs to the given memory RAM memory address. So therefore we use a concept of tags. So how do we find out the size of the tags? The size of the tag field in terms of bits is given as 32 minus bracket n plus m plus 2, okay, where n represents the number of bits used for cache index, because the cache size is always 2 to the power n blocks, because as I said that the number of entries in the cache will always be a power of 2, so therefore the cache size will be 2 to the power n blocks, and n number of bits are used for the cache index, and the block size is given by 2 to the power m words, okay, which is equals to 2 to the power m plus 2 bytes. So m bits are used for the word within the block, okay, since a block could be a single word or it could be a multi-word cache. So we will see the architecture of both today. Okay, so therefore we have 32 minus of n plus m plus 2 basically. Okay. Okay, now this is the hardware architecture of a direct mapped cache. So the information that you see, one on the top within the purple box, that is showing the address, 32-bit RAM address, and you have 0 to 31. The first 2 bits are reserved for byte offset because we want it to be always a multiple of 4, and the next, the 10 bits is reserved for the index, and the 20 bits is reserved for the tag. So how this 10 and 20 bits are coming, I'll explain. Suppose you have a cache of 4 KB, okay, 4 kilobytes. So 4 kilobytes would result into a size of 1024 words. Okay, you can do the conversion by yourself. Okay, 4 into 1024 bytes. Okay, so 4 into 1024 bytes gives you 1024 words. So therefore n is 2 to the power 10, which is equals to 1024 words. So therefore the value of n is 10 bits. So cache has 1024 words, which is equals to 2 to the power 10, and the number of bits used for index is 10 bits therefore. So therefore the index is specified by 10 bits here, and the number of bits used for tag comparison or tag size is equals to 32 minus 10 minus 2. Okay, so here the value of m is 0 because it's a single word cache, not a multi-word cache. So 2 to the power 0 gives you 1, so one word basically. Since it's one word, so the value of m is 0, so we'll not have the variable m as part of the equation here. So it will be 32 minus 10 minus 2, so that gives you 20 bits. So therefore 20 bits are used for the tag. You have the data, tag, valid and the index. So index is representing the number of entries. So since it has 1024 words, so the index will range from 0 to 1023, where every index will have one word. So therefore 1024 entries has 1024 words. Okay, now once you get to know the exact index by this value specified by the 10 bits, the pointer points to that specific index, and from there the tag value, okay, which is the upper order bits 20 bits, that will be compared with the 20 bits of this RAM address, and if they match, then we will AND it with the valid bit, because the valid bit has to also be turned on. So if the valid bit is on, then we know that it's a hit, that is the data is present inside the cache. Okay, and once it's a hit, once the hit determination is done, then the data from that respective cache index location will be supplied or sent to the processor. So for the data from that particular location in the cache index will be sent on to the processor. So this goes to the processor. Therefore this 32-bit information goes to the processor after the hit determination process is over. Okay, so hit determination, we need to first do the tag comparison. So tag comparison is done by this 20 bits, okay, of the tag coming from the RAM plus the value or information inside the cache structure for the tag. They both are compared. If they both match, both the 20-bit values match, then we need to see that if the valid bit is on, then of course this will give you a true value. If it's a true value, then it's a hit. Okay, if it's a 0, then it's not a hit, it's a miss. In that case, data will not be supplied to the processor. The data will be then brought from the RAM to the cache. Okay, so that's how the direct map cache structure works. Now let us move to the calculation of the size of the direct map cache. So the total number of bits in a direct map cache is given as 2 to the power n, which is the number of entries multiplied by the block size plus tag size plus the valid field size. So the block size is given as 2 to the power m words, which is equivalent to 2 to the power m plus 5 bits, and we keep 1 bit reserved for the valid field. So therefore the total number of bits is given as 2 to the power n, which is the total number of entries multiplied by block size, which is 2 to the power m times 32, plus the tag size is given as 32 minus n minus m minus 2 plus 1 bit for the valid field size. So on simplifying, the computation gives you 2 to the power n multiplied by 2 to the power m into 32 plus 31 minus n minus m. Okay, so this gives you the actual size in bits of the entire direct map cache architecture. Okay, so important thing to note is that although this gives you the value of the total size of the direct map cache, but the naming convention of caches is to always ignore the size of the tag and to only consider the size of the data. Okay, we never consider the size of the tag when we talk of the size of the cache. Okay, so I'm going to give you one example also to make you understand what I exactly mean by this. Okay, but before I do that example to make you understand about what I mean by that, let me also talk a little bit about the multi-word block direct map cache architecture. So let's say multi-word means inside a block there will be more than one words. So let's say it's a 4-word block direct map cache architecture that I'm going to talk about. So you see that now the cache structure has multiple words. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 different datas, okay, or 4-word information that can be stored inside the data structure or data portion of the cache architecture. The tag field remains as it is and the valid field remains as it is. So again you have a RAM address on the top. The 2-bit information is kept for the byte offset. Since it's a forward block, so 2 to the power m, that is equivalent to 4, so 2 bits are reserved for word offset, so therefore this becomes a word offset information that comes here. We can also call that as block offset. And since we have like 4k entries specified to us, so it is 4k means 4 in times 1024 entries, so that gives you 2 to the power 12 entries, and therefore that means that the value of n is 12 bits. So that is the cache index. So cache index is there for 12 bits here. The value of block offset or word offset is 2 bits. Therefore the tag bits is given as 32 minus of n minus of m minus 2. So that gives you a value of 16 bits. So the tag bit is 16 bits. So 32 minus 12 minus 2 minus 2. So that gives you 16 bits. So therefore 16 bits are reserved for the tag comparison. So this tag comparison is performed with the tag value of the cache architecture through a comparator, and if that comes out to be equal, then again we will AND it with the value of the valid field. So this has to be kept on. So if this is yes, that is it is on, then it will yield a true value and it will result into a hit architecture. Okay, so this is a hit determination structure. Once we know that it's a hit, then we need to know from where exactly the data has to be supplied or fetched to the processor. Then therefore we need another switch, which is a multiplexer. This is a 4:1 multiplexer that you need here at the bottom of the screen that you see here, and the inputs for each of these multiplexers are coming from the data field of the cache architecture. Since it's a forward data, so from every field of the data the input is coming into the mux, and the select line of the mux is controlled by the block offset. Okay, so block offset 2-bit is acting as a select line for this. So this will actually specify from which location the data will be supplied and sent to the processor. So the output is 32-bit from the output of the mux, and that will be sent into the processor. So this architecture, okay, is a standard architecture of a forward block direct mapped cache, and this is also known as fast intensity math processor architecture. Okay, this is a name given to it, fast intensity math processor. And now, since you have now known how to find out the cache index, cache tag, the valid field, now let me also ask you to find out the size of this cache. So for example, the size of the cache, okay, that is the data size of the cache, is given as 32 times 4, because we have 32 bit for each and there are 4 words. So it will be 32 times 4, 32 bits times 4, okay, because every location has 32 bits. So it will be 32 times 4 number of bits multiplied by the number of entries, which is 4 times 1024. So that gives you 524288 bits. When you divide that by 8, that gives you 65,536 bytes, and when you convert that to kilobytes, it becomes 64 KB. So this is a 64 KB cache that we are talking about. Okay, although this is not the total size of the cache, this is only the data portion of the cache, which is often the naming convention of the cache that we talk about. Now let's move to one more example. So how many total bits are required for a direct map cache with 16 KB of data and forward block, assuming a 32-bit address? So 16 KB means 16 times 1024 bytes. So that gives you 2 to the power 4 times 2 to the power 10 bytes of data. That is 2 to the power 14 total bytes of data. And since it's 4 words or 4 bytes make up 1 word, so this becomes 2 to the power 12 words of data. Now since each block contains 4 words, therefore the total number of blocks, that is total number of entries in the cache, is given as 2 to the power 12 words divided by 2 to the power 2 words. That gives you 2 to the power 10 blocks or entries. So therefore the value of n, that is specifying the cache index, is 10 bits, and the value of m is 2 bits, because we have a 4-word block which is given as 2 to the power 2 words, and the valid bit is 1 bit. Okay, so therefore the total bits is 2 to the power n times 2 to the power m into 32 plus 31 minus n minus m. So that gives you a value of 147 kilobits, which is equivalent to 18.4 kilobytes. bytes. So this 18.4 kilobytes is the total bits required for the direct map cache. Although when we actually refer to this cache, we'll talk about it as 16 KB data or 16 KB cache, because when we talk of the cache, we only talk about the data portion, not the entire size of the cache. Okay, so you can see that the entire size is 18.4 KB, while the data portion of the cache is just 16 KB. So this actually is referred to as a 16 KB cache. Okay, so we are pretty much done with the cache memory, and finally to end, we'll just I'll give you some formulas for performance of caches. So CPU time, we know is given by CPU execution clock cycles plus the memory stall clock cycles, and that together is multiplied by the clock cycle time. While the memory stall clock cycles can be computed as memory accesses, number of memory accesses into miss rate into miss penalty, while the average memory access time can be given as hit time plus miss rate into miss penalty. Okay, just remember these three formulas, they are conceptually sometimes useful. Okay, so we are done with the direct map cache memory. I have spoken about the hardware architecture of single word cache architecture direct map. I have spoken about multi-word direct map cache architecture. I have spoken about the utility of tags, utility of cache index, utility of valid field. I've also spoken about how to do tag comparison. I've also spoken about how to do hit determination and the logic circuit for that. I've also given you example of how to compute the total size of the cache structure and how to calculate the size of the data cache, and you have also now known how to compute the bit size of the cache index and tags. Okay, so since the direct map cache architecture is pretty much covered, next lecture we'll move on to the associative cache memory, where I'll speak about the other classifications of caches and how associative cache memory is different from the direct map cache memory. Thank you.